Welcome to the Extreme Lockdowns and COVID Measures episode of the Corey Shepherd podcast. We reached number 48. Welcome back. Thanks for listening. Okay, I ain't doing too well with this, I'm being honest. I ain't had too much of intro and thing. I'm not doing too good with this. This lockdown thing is difficult. I don't want to lie. This thing getting to me. I don't like it. I understand it's all right. It's for the best, right? Let me get that out of the way. It's for the best. If we don't live, we can't no business. If we don't live, we can't no podcast. We can't no fun. We can't no carnival. We can't do nothing, right? We have to live first, right? Good, great. Oh, that's out of the way. I can't take the lockdown. Nothing in me could have possibly believed that in 2021, a year and some change down the road from when we had the first lockdown in March, it had nothing could have make me believe that we'd be here a year from now, boy. I don't know how all you was feeling about this. There were a few people I know who had always said this thing gonna take 2-3 years and thing, but I was thinking, you tell me the honest truth. When the first lockdown come, I thought in about 3-4 months we think and you remember when they used to talk about the flattening the curve and getting on the backside of the curve, and now we's the only backside it have because we're right back where we started a whole year ago. Just the other day we was doing this, and I keep coming back here and saying this is no COVID podcast because we spend so much time, we get so far away from it. That's so much episodes where we ain't say nothing about COVID because the numbers is little 3 a day, 5 a day, to tomorrow are 0, the next 3 days are nothing. Now, we are 300 and something a day, 2 something a day. And I had to sit down and listen to a press conference on Monday where somebody telling me we're 10 days away from overwhelming the whole, I want to cry in my heart. We're 10 days away from overwhelming the whole healthcare system. Let me not get ahead of myself. Let me go in some order here so we have a proper discussion about this, because we saw the numbers rising from about a week or so ago. And we get so accustomed, it's like we learning about the virus ourselves in our own layman way. Because from the time we see what was happening post-carnival, surprisingly, we get through carnival and keep the thing mellow and taking with virtual concerts and somehow keep all the numbers low all the way through the carnival season. And almost pat yourself on the back and give yourself a round of applause, let that including me. And somehow we managed to foobar the whole scene during Lent and coming down to Easter. A big part of it. And I'm glad to hear some of the press conference squad admitting that everybody fed up. And listen, I like going online and see people who, it's so polarizing. Can I tell some people, no matter what measures they put in place, like when they put measures in place, nobody not supposed to say nothing. As a business owner, you're supposed to just shut up and whatever measure they go, don't say nothing about it. Because once you say anything about it, there are some people who, them first thing is, boy, the thing, and you're going to dead. All right, okay, we accept that, right? We have to live. But while we live, we had to figure out how to live. And when we done live through this, we had to figure out how to live after this. So the only thing people like me commenting about is really how to find the balance between extreme measures that going to lock the place down and having something to wake up to when we come out of this. I don't know how that could be so hard to understand. I really don't understand. Maybe that's the reason I like doing podcasting and maybe just talking to myself too. Because we're so black and white as a society is a shame. Like I keep saying, I don't call this the middle of the road podcast, because I always find myself coming here to kind of argue both sides of the story. And the reason I always do that is to show people who so fixated and so, I don't want to say blind, but they're so holding on to one side of the story that they can't see the next side. So I feel better. I argue both sides. So hopefully you could start seeing what somebody else seeing, whichever side you want. So the thing about it, as I say, is I would not want to be the man who had to decide on these restrictions. And I'm myself guilty of coming here all the time and finding ways to knock or bad talk the rollers. But it's clear that he taking his advice from Dr. Parasaram, Dr. Hines, so many different doctors who given the advice in terms of epidemiology and what where the spread is and what we need to do. That is great news. I'm very happy to have a leader in charge who is taking the advice of the medical people, because I want you to appreciate that he does not have to do that. Well, and I'm talking to myself a little bit. Corey, the man don't have to listen to none of them doctors. He could come and do whatever he wants and put whatever restrictions or freedoms in place that he wants, and he doing that. But at least he's doing it based on what the doctor's saying. That's the people who I could trust in this situation. You know, me and politicians, I always hear the bad talk them, but if the doctor's saying these are the things, and I mean, hearing a doctor talking about 10 days away from overwhelming a healthcare system is a scary thing, because I don't know if you have too much faith in our healthcare system. There's not like we had the greatest healthcare system. So listening to that is sobering. And before I get into the thing, I want to appeal to everybody, including myself, to continue to wash your hands, social distance, wear your mask, stay home when you're feeling sick. Let me try and get back on track. I myself, let me talk to myself. I don't want to preach to nobody. I had to get back on track where those things concerned, because the complacency definitely set in on my end where the numbers is zero. It's so easy to think, and maybe even reasonable to think, that if you're on an island and the number is zero and nobody have COVID, you could relax because they have nowhere to get COVID from. But of course, people coming in all the time, legally and illegally. I don't care what the people who in power say about nobody, that is not what caused anything. How you know what caused anything? But I suppose a big part of their information, according to Dr. Hines, our brand new Minister of National Security, he said based on contact tracing and these things, it's not looking like it coming from abroad. Now, what I listen for in them press conferences all the time, I try to listen to what the politicians saying different from what the doctors saying. I haven't heard any of the doctors in any of the press conferences so far agree with that statement and say, no, it's not from coming in or coming out. And boy, we couldn't have somebody better than Dr. Parasram, boy. We couldn't have somebody, because that man's so measured in the way he's talking. And I don't want to single him out. I think it's the whole team. They're so measured in the way they say things. Like they I don't know if there's meet before and they say, listen, politicians gonna be politicking and we not getting into that. Let two of them fight their battles between who say what and who find this should be done and that should be done. And let us just provide the population with the facts as they stand. And the men is coming with facts. The men coming with the numbers, the graphs, everything to show. Men and women, sorry. They come in with everything to show. And then the only time they give their opinions is when it's a medical opinion. You notice that? Thank God we have people like that in place, because this would just be even more bacchanal if not the case. So anyway, the high numbers was rolling in. Everybody was worried about it. Everybody know what they do Easter, except some people who've been perfect since this COVID start and them never do nothing. The greatest is to see them talk on social media about how they never take off their mask or forget to wash their hand, and they never touch their face a whole year and a half. And they ain't go no lime, no zest, no wedding, no funeral. They never do nothing. They was perfect throughout this whole time. Outside of them, we all watch these numbers going up, and all of us started thinking to ourselves, boy, listen, I had to tighten my belt here. You know what I mean? I'm moving a little slack. Let me tighten up. And we expected that the numbers were going to rise after what we saw for Easter. And when they start to rise, I didn't expect that they would rise beyond what they were last year. I thought we passed the worst, to be honest with you. And I gave the government in power a lot of credit, and the doctors a lot of credit for managing it to the point where we passed the worst, and the worst wasn't bad at all. But boy, I don't know. We definitely didn't pass the worst. And I hope what we're going through here is the worst, and we get past it smooth. But the numbers start to rise. 300, 200, one something, 300 every day. And then the doc call a press conference and say he coming out. That would have been last week, Thursday. Now, during that press conference, all of us sitting on edge. And let me talk for business people, right? Let me not talk for everybody. You see, business people, when they're making them announcements, we sit down on edge, trying to figure out, okay, what's going to happen now? And I don't own no food place, you know. I don't have a food place. I don't have a cinema. I don't have a casino. I don't have a nightclub. So I cannot imagine what the people who their businesses most affected by this, I can't imagine what they think when they're looking at these press conferences, or they hear the doc say, hey, press conference, he's showing up tomorrow. I want to describe this for you, right? The anxiety that I feel, I'm talking about physical anxiety, stress, physically manifested stress that I feel between when he say they have an announcement and the time the announcement come is unsurpassed. It is unmatched. And this, saying that to say, I'm not sure why people is be so surprised when business people coming on social platforms to say, like I see Jenny's, who owned Jenny's. That was a nice little one, Jenny's, who owned Jenny's. She came out and was talking about how difficult it is and staff going home. What do you expect? I don't think we're in a situation where the people don't care what done or not concerned about COVID. I mean, really, are some people not concerned about COVID and them still don't believe that exists. Huh? I want to call no name Fali, but there are some people who believe COVID don't exist at all. But outside of them, everybody know what it is. And they have some people who like Dr. Fuad Khan. I'll talk about Dr. Fuad Khan in a while, but he basically saying the Buju, he go on Buju style. He's like, and he's a doctor and he was a previous minister of health. So understand what I mean when I say thank God we have somebody there who listening to the doctors. Fuad Khan is basically saying it's a virus. Everybody have to get it at some point. Who want to live, who want dead. I hear him say, if you're obese, you're gonna dead. I started to walk around this little block by me one time. Because I vex when he say it, but a little obese. So I said, let me just start moving before, sad be my portion. But the anxiety that I put, like I would feel during the time that they announce he coming, it cannot be described. And the reason I feel the anxiety is because I understand what we went through last year in terms of business. And what we went through, you see, I always feel like I go survive, you know. I always feel I'll figure it out. I'll figure out something where business concerned, or I know I go teach some courses. I go figure something out, and I feel I could figure out how to survive. But I want people to appreciate how hard it is to sit down across from somebody for any reason, public health, for whatever reason it is, to tell that person, we had to get a salary cut. So your mortgage ain't moving, your rent not moving, all your expenses not moving. And I had to sit down in front of you. I have to sit in front of that person. Not no Rowley, not no social media champions and giants and things. I have to sit down in front of that person and say, boy, listen, you're working good, it's no fault of your own, but you're seeing what happening here and the restrictions is this. So, unfortunately, you had to take a salary cut by X. That's the thing I went through. I ain't talking about nothing where you see all the theorists on social media. I'm not talking about no theory, I'm talking about what I had to sit down and do. I can't describe what it's like for any reason. It could be what? It could be whether the business is doing good, bad, or indifferent, or for social, for healthcare reasons, or for COVID. It does not matter the reason. When I sit down in front of somebody to tell them, due to XYZ, you don't have a job anymore. I'm talking about somebody who given problems on the job or stealing or whatever the thing might be, where you have to send them home due to some reason, fault of their own. I'm talking about COVID restrictions. The contract we have with our client, you cannot fulfill that anymore because of the limited movement, X amount of places closed down and so on. I don't have the business again to keep you in a job. And I had to sit down in front of that person and say, sorry, but you do have a job. I want you to appreciate appreciate what it's like to have that meeting. Forget anything about what any business owner is saying about how much money, because people have a tendency to watch business owners and say, them making a bunch of money and them good and them is the ones who complain the most. But I'm putting it to you that many people who so black and white about this issue, when you're going and have that meeting with somebody to tell them they don't have a job again or the salary had to go down, your knees going to be shaking and your mouth going to be dry and you might cry more than that person. But don't take it from me. Find yourself in that position yourself, and then you could come to talk to me about business owners should just understand and business owners shouldn't care, and whatever the restrictions are, we should just find a way to deal with that, and it's only 3 months and thing. You go and tell a single mother that is only 3 months she had to go home for, and we can't pay you. I want you go and do that. I want you have that. I mean, I don't wish that experience on my worst enemy, right? But I hope all you understand where you're coming from. And I hope that you understand that when somebody, we like this term 1%, right? You know why I don't like the term 1% too much? because it sounds like it's a fixed group of people who is 1%, and it sounds like it was bestowed upon them, and I can't achieve that. And I can't accept that. Anybody could be any 1%. The 1% is just the top 1% of people who earn in any country. Anybody could be any 1%. When I was small and growing up, the people who was any 1%, remember Kerpalani? Them names, they even talk about them names again, so. And them was the biggest names in the country at the time. That 1% list is changed. And if you don't want to work towards getting any 1% and do, I will advise you. But don't begrudge people who in the 1%. The country can't run without that 1% neither. So let me use KFC as an example, right? The doc come and say, place lockdown from midnight. He initially said that he was going to come and talk Saturday, and then he say, boy, let me bring it up to Thursday because the numbers was high. Wouldn't want to be in his position. He had to do what he had to do. The man come out and say, boy, listen, restaurants close. Now, KFC owned by Prestige Holdings, right? And Prestige Holdings is one of the companies that I would be, they're in a position that anybody could envy as a business person. They men have some of the strongest brands that have KFC, Pizza Boys, TGI, Starbucks, Subway. They men rolling. They men Subway, the franchises doing good, and they continue to expand the franchises. Keep in mind, just before COVID, they were rolling out Starbucks stores every 2-3 months, a store coming out, and they still roll out a few more during COVID too. I don't know why people is be so upset about people who making money and doing good. Them people who making money and doing good is affect the whole economy, and everybody is do better due to that. But anyway, them men report a loss last year, if I'm not mistaken, overall as a group, unheard of for them, right? But we understand what's the situation. They end up closed for, if I remember right, it was about 3 months. It was a tight time. They end up closed for a good little while. And even when they open back, for about 2 different occasions, they had to do takeout only or delivery only. They couldn't dine in and so on. There's a big portion of their money. Add to that the general restrictions in the country and lack of movement, like children not in school, people not working from the office and so on, that bound to slow down sales in fast food places and coffee places and them kind of thing. So when the man announced midnight, right? People like this kind of term to a Chinese jackass any scene. I don't like it. No, I don't like this. Let me tell you what I don't like. I don't like nothing where people is just single out Trinis like we're the most stupid people in the world. I hate it. I don't like it. We just like anybody else anywhere. Why everything that happened, people have to say, oh God, only in Trinidad. Trinidad is not a real place. But I like here too bad, you know. I love this place, and I don't like when people come to talk, who jackass and say, you know. And you know, the Prime Minister, I think, has encouraged that statement. That's why I don't like it, because he's come with this thing about the dotish behavior and all them kind of things. It's a virus, yo. It's going to spread. I don't care what nobody say, it will spread. But of course, you're doing the things to manage the spread. So you come and you say midnight. KFC with very quick fingers pull the trigger and say, hey, what's going on? 10 piece of chicken for $10. Will you run in? Come on. Why you think he do? Let me just get into the nuts and bolts of why he do that now. Let me break it down. I make losses. Even if I'm wrong about the losses on the year, it's definitely a couple quarters of losses he would have made over last year. Now, today, I am forced to close my restaurant until the 23rd of May. Count them days for man, tell me when is the 23rd of May, right? That far. That far. Now, again, if the numbers real slow down and everything go good, I expect that they might come back and say, hey, we could open back. But I had to plan as a businessman for what happened by the 23rd of May, right? I had chicken in my freezer now at this moment in time right now. How much of the chicken and the fries or whatsoever I have here now? How much of it going to last till the 23rd of May? How much of it you comfortable with me keeping on hand? And when we open back on the 23rd of May, I fire up that old frozen chicken and listen, them thing going to throw away, thing going to spoil. There's more losses for our business. Any business in their right mind will try and sell out all the things they have in stock if they had to close for a month and a half. If you had to close for a month, what you would do? I want people who do have a business and like to say these kind of things, like what would you have done if it was you? You would have just closed up that night and say, well, here what? We just take we losses. A publicly listed company on the stock exchange, Trinidad Stock Exchange, you could just, I could just swallow that loss, no problem. I could just eat that. I would just throw away that chicken, carry myself into year 2 of losses, and I'll be okay. How? How? Do 1% and 1% and 1% talk? If they decide to do things like that and decide, well, wait the hell with that, we go take we losses and take. All the employees who there, who is not 1%ers, who we apparently that is who we fighting for. We fighting for the small man and all them things. What going to happen to their jobs if the biggest companies in the country stand big losses over this? What going to happen next? I don't know how we come up with, like, when we saying some of these things, like, y'all didn't expect KFC. Every single business last week Thursday would have tried to sell everything they have. Everything they have had to go. I have a little spot I go to named Vanilla Bean in what the place name again, boy? Kunupia. That's a spot I like there. Little coffee and the food always good and that kind of thing. I watching that little business, boy, and I saying, you know what I mean? During the last lockdown last year, I was worried. I said, boy, I wonder if these people go open back, boy. It's so sad. That is the thing that hurt my heart. And when I see business closed down like that, I said, boy, I wonder if these people go open back. Eventually, they start to do curbside and thing. They make a next shutdown. The restaurant close. It looked like they was going to close down. Then a few weeks after, they open back. And I'm watching them now going through the same thing now where they close off again. And I had to think, what is like for that girl who running that place to sit down with employees? You see, when you're in a small business like that, when you're Christian Multi and you're in a business, you don't know most of your frontline employees. So you have a manager, you have several layers between you and your frontline employees, and people might have to go home, people get reduced hours, reduced pay, and so on. You have somebody you paying to go and sit down and have them hard conversations I'm talking about, right? Basically, in a small business, you have to do that yourself. And in a small business like what they run, and where they have a family and a friendly environment, and they know the girls, and everybody know one another in the place. And next lockdown now, you have to go and tell these people, hey, you have a job or you don't have a job. You reduced hours, you're making less money and things. When you tell people them thinking an economy like this, or during COVID, where they getting a next job? Who hiring right now? So I'm not sure if when we making these statements, we be thinking about what is the overall effect of things like this. And I want to reiterate that it's a pandemic and we had to do what we had to do. But stop coming on social media and talking black and white like if business people not supposed to say nothing or not supposed to ask questions, because people was rightfully asking, okay, we understand that you don't want eating in restaurants and they pulling down of the mask, and that make perfect sense. But why leave street food open if businesses can't do curbside food? I was asking myself the same question, like curbside. If I drive up by Vanilla Bean, why they can't come and give me my food? Both of us have on our mask. We hand over the thing. I sanitize one time. Like, why we can't do those types of things? People will ask. And to be honest with you, I was one of the people who was asking that question. And I find the man come with a reasonable answer. The man basically say it's not just about how you're collecting your food and those types. It's to reduce the movement around the place. Because if once restaurants open, more people on the road, like for me personally, right? Once restaurants open, I could spend more time on the road doing what I had to do. I could go in the office, I could go around to stores, whatever I had to do, I could do, because it quick. I could go run in and get something somewhere and eat and go again, right? When restaurants close, my greedy self will more be self. At the time, my movements now. Because when restaurants close and I working from the road, as I get hungry, guess where I had to head? You understand? I had to head home. It ain't nothing happening. So we ask a question, the man give a reasonable response. Why that had to be that I is a UNC? Why? I don't understand how the politics is coming in. So anything you say or question about the PNM, use a UNC? I doesn't understand it. And Rowlers is encouraged that too, because he say he don't want to hear nothing about the borders. Imagine the first statement, what your name again? Fitzgerald Hines. One of the first things he come and say on his first press conference, a man asked him about whether it is new strains and the increases could be related to the immigration problem we have, illegal immigration of Venezuelan and so on. And he gone back to his normal condescending, looking for the piper in you. He say, I don't subscribe to that mini thesis that you are putting forward. I was like, nigga, just talk to people. Why we can't just talk like it's normal people you're talking to? So the reporters is dunce. The population is dunce. Everybody dotish. So talk down to people as much as you could. But I don't subscribe to your mini thesis about where things come in. All right, pal. All right. You don't subscribe to the mini thesis. It's not coming from abroad or anything. So I wonder if they know what's a press conference. Anybody ever define what's a press conference for them fellas who's be having that press conference every single day? The press going and ask questions. That's what they're there for. That's what they have to do. That's part of the people's job. They had to report on things. What you want them to do? Go and write the same story every day? They had to come out and do it. Now, I understand that they're on the defensive too, because a part of the main issue is that the opposition genuinely attacking them on anything else they do. But I find it so useless to respond to it, because right now, with no election coming up, it's nothing them could do. They could just talk, and that's all they do, and that's all they're going to do. They're going to talk. So when we're responding like that, where business concern has wonder, and then to respond to the people who line up buying street food, like them Trinis again, everything is only in Trinidad. We're trying to flatten the curve, and these people, everything is somebody else. Nobody else in Russia buy food, right? I wonder why people feel like it's such an abnormal thing if restaurants closing at 12 tonight. Why is such an abnormal thing for people to rush out there and buy the food? Why is such an abnormal thing? It's a very Trinidadian thing that when price fall, quantity demanded is increased. Sorry for the nerd mode, right? But that's only in Trinidad. It's not that kind of economics where price fall and quantity demanded increase. That Trini thing. It's only Trinis who, if they say 10 pieces of chicken for $10, go rush out and buy the chicken. Come on, son. People will go and get the thing. People go and get food to freeze. People still out of work. We still never address this situation where parents had to go back out to work, but children working from home. The restaurants and the fast food and all these different things is like a part of people's life. If all the biggest restaurants in the country are going past Thursday night now, so we had that rush, right? And to be honest with you, from a business standpoint, I was feeling like, as safely as possible, of course, I was feeling like we as a society should have tried and buy out every restaurant we know. KFC and them, I might think about them slightly differently, right? Because them men with the biggest restaurants in the country, they make years and years and years of profits and will be able to sustain some losses for a longer period of time than other smaller businesses, even though it will still affect employees and it will probably affect us in the long run in terms of the price that we will pay for things. This turning into a real econ class, but long run and all these things. But I find as a society, we should have figured out a way to buy out places like Vanilla Bean. If all the fellas are closed, let me buy out everything all they have, whether it's delivery or whatsoever. I wish there was a way we could just don't let them have goods on their hand that end up spoiling and thing, and maybe put a little income in their hands so that less people get sent home and those types of things. It's just one society we live in. It's not we and not them. It's one society we live in. Business can't function without people, and people can't function without business. It really does cut and dry. So I wasn't surprised by it, and I don't have any issue with it where people rush out to the restaurants. My issue is that when they did that, and the businesses, especially the larger boys who call people out to buy pizza 2 for 1 and all them types of things, y'all could have also put something in place to make sure that they had like monitor it, where people going to rush out to your spots, and you know that because of the promotion you run, right? Monitor it and make sure that people social distance, make sure people have on their mask. So double down on everything you was doing in terms of the COVID protocols. That's my only criticism of that. I don't know why people were surprised that businesses try and rush to sell out. I don't know why people were surprised that people try to rush out for food. Like if only didn't rush out for food too. And going back to my Philip Alexander example of Freddy's and Creole Kitchener, because a part of the problem with the way the restrictions being done, I'm talking from the standpoint of business here again, is that it is arbitrary. It's arbitrary in terms of the time that it will come. It's arbitrary in terms of the notice that we will get. It's arbitrary in terms of what the restrictions will be. And it's arbitrary in terms of who the restrictions will affect. I don't know why people find this to be so unreasonable. We run into a certain number of cases now, and now I had to deal with my anxiety personally. Because when the numbers running up, I had to take a wild guess and say, oh God, boy, it looked like restrictions coming. And I had to start to notify staff and put letters in place and try to do different things for the movement of essential workers and things, anticipating what will happen. That is for me in the office, right? For me home now, I had to play this foolish game about what Rowley wearing, and if you have a shirt, if you bare back and a thing, and if you're in Trinidad or to be. I had to go through that ritual every so often to try to get a gauge for whether my employees could keep their job, they can't keep their job, I getting up a salary or not, we making any money, we have a contract or not. I had to go through that so as if I am in his hands. You know what I mean? So this is my daddy, this is my pops. He basically telling me, all right, you could go so. But I could let you know by midnight. And I had to just eat up all the anxiety and deal with that. And my staff dealing with the same. Listen, I don't want to talk too much company business here, but I can't tell you how much over the last year, how much phone calls I get with people having full-on mental breakdowns for the simplest issues where staff concerned, the simplest work-related issues. People, and I had to tell people, listen, I don't care what's the issue you call about, the first thing you have to do is take care of yourself. You see, this state you're in here, it can't work. I can't tell you how much of them conversations I had. And I think it's a direct result of the amount of pressure people under in this society right now. Because we're dealing with a pandemic, we're dealing with losses of loved ones, and we're dealing with losses in the economy one time. Boy, listen, I hope we are real psychiatrists to deal with this. Whenever we see the back of this, or we fully vaccinated, or whatever you want to call it, I hope we are real therapists to deal with this, because people on edge, and I personally on edge. My stress level is on all. Me ain't doing too good with this. But the businesses, again, could have put a little more in place to make sure that we do the right thing on that last night of freedom, if you want to call it that, freedom to buy from whatever restaurant you want, you know what I mean? But that happened Thursday. Friday come numbers was high. Saturday come numbers was high. Brazilian variant going up. Unfortunately and very sadly, more deaths every single day. 3 and 4 deaths where we used to see that in a month. Now we're seeing that day. And again, condolences to everybody who would have lost loved ones during this time. It's rough. And sure enough, we get a next call now saying the doc coming Monday to talk again. So again, arbitrary when he will show back up. Arbitrary. I don't know what numbers lead to what. Arbitrary. I don't know what are the new restrictions. So over the last 2 days, I get voice notes saying it's curfew and the army get passes. And I show all of them get them voice notes too. So I study more. What is going on? I trying to figure out, boy, when he finished talk Monday, will I have a business or not? Will I have a livelihood or not? Boy, listen. So when people talking and things, you see, but hey, listen. All right. I trying to figure out what's my status come Tuesday morning. I gonna be able to pay my bills, or what's the scene? I could see about my son or not. But apparently you can't say that. You can't say any of that. You can't think any of that out loud. You can't type any of that, because you are supposed to go with whatever the restrictions are and just be humble and cool and wait for whatever the decision is, and don't question the decision in any way, because COVID and the word is final. And again, new restrictions. So on Monday we hear that the street. No, just to go back a little bit. Between Thursday and Monday, people really went wild on the street side vendors. But wait to think about this, right? Prestige Holdings on their own. KFC must have about 60, 70 branches. Starbucks have about 10, 15. Right? When we reach there, about 85. Subway have about 70. There's 150 something branches. What else they have? Pizza Hut that have about 4. We reach 175. What else they have? Them men responsible for a lot of the food that is consumed in this country, right? Fast food in particular, right? The biggest businesses. when you take them out of the equation and you take everybody else who have a restaurant out of the equation, because Burger King is a chain, Wendy's is a chain, all them, you see in plenty, you have plenty of them around the place. When you take all of them out and you don't put back the demand, I'm going to name this thing economics. I'm going to name this COVID economics 101. The demand for fast food is still there, but the supply fall off drastically. Because all the restaurants close. You don't think it's gonna look like more crowds in front the street side vendors? It must look that way. Because when you pass by KFC and them places, they look at Chagonas, for instance. You have 2 KFC on the main road alone. They're gonna absorb most of the traffic. And the small man typically have a smaller part of the market share. But when they close down the big boys now, what we expected, the street side vendors must end up with more people. Again, I had to criticize street side vendors because all you know this, all these business people, put a little extra measures in place, because the first and most important thing is the health and safety of everybody. You get to stay open, you're providing human service to the country. Oh God, make a little extra precaution. Make sure that you have people separated by a certain amount. Tell people, listen, once you have more than 10 in the line, you can't join the line again. You could get somebody who might have just get laid off from a KFC or another type of restaurant or whatever kind of work. You could hire one of them just to be a line monitor. Go out there. Say, hey, after 10, no, we can't take no more people. Stay in your car until XYZ, and then you could come out. You go take a little police in. It new. It is not a normal thing we're going through. It had to change. So, not much of that. And of course, my favorite statement or term, we as individuals personally had to do better than that too, because you yourself, if you go up to a place and you don't see X amount of people in the line, don't join that line. Go home and make a sandwich. It's serious matters we're dealing with. So anyway, that happened, and from the time I see that happening again, my anxiety gone up, because now I'm frightened and I don't want to hear from Dr. Rowley at all. I went, listen, he on my mind, that is not the darkie I want on my mind when I go and sleep. But boy, that darkie was on my mind for the whole damn weekend. I say, no God, boy, this man we will get our next lockdown. And I'm afraid the lockdown's bad. Although it's good for my health and thing, right? I understand that, but I'm afraid it. So, lo and behold, he come back out today. And the street side vendors gone. All retail is closed down. And, you know, it makes me wonder, like, how do they... That's what I mean when I say arbitrary. I would like to be a fly in the wall in one of these meetings where they come up with these things. Because on Thursday, the man say malls closed. By Friday, Long Circular Mall put out a statement to say all the people who open in the mall still. And I'm thinking, but what is this? The mall closed or it not closed? Malls closed. So everybody in C3... What the place name again? South Park. Everybody in South Park closed. But Starlight open because Starlight is a pharmacy. So, boy, it is exhausting in a way. And I think some of the ways this being handled, making it more exhausting than the actual COVID and the slowdown the economy and all that. And let me explain why. There's a place called Alberta in Canada, right? It's about 4 times the size of Trinidad in terms of population, 4-point-something million people and things. But this is something that I saw in talking to a partner of mine who were in Calgary. And them men have a website called albertahealthcare.com. If you want to look at it, just Google Alberta, ALBERTA, healthcare. Let me just make sure I'm telling you Google that, but let me just make sure when you Google that coming up, Alberta Healthcare. Yeah, Alberta Health Services.ca. They have on the website a breakdown of all the types of businesses that they have that they're monitoring during this period, right? So they're saying basically stop the spike, and they're trying to identify for anybody what is happening. So here what they have. Indoor social gatherings, outdoor social gatherings, out-of-town travel and visitors, weddings and funerals, places of worship. And then they break down exactly what is what under each one of those things to say what people could do and what they can't do. Under businesses, they have retail, restaurants, bars, pubs, lounges, and cafes. This is a category. So retail is category 1. Category 2 is restaurant, bars, pubs, lounges, cafes. 3, entertainment and recreation. 4, banquet halls, community halls, conference centers, hotels. Then they have personal and wellness services. I suppose there's spas and I could go into it and see what it is. I don't want to suppose. Personal services include aesthetics, manicure, pedicure, body waxing, makeup, body, nose, ear piercing, artificial tanning, facial, eyebrow, eyelash, cosmetic skin treatments, laser hair, tattoo removal, hairstyling, and barbering. Well, wellness services apparently involve flotation tanks. I don't know what that is. I would have think that under hardware. Where's a woman go help me with that? Tell me what's a flotation tank, right? I don't know what's that. So, going on to the other categories, they have health, social, and professional services, indoor fitness, outdoor fitness, youth and collegiate sports and recreation activities, performance activities, working from home, and public health orders and exemption. Them men have everything listed out as to what the businesses are, what falling under what category. So if I run in a certain kind of business, I could go in and say, all right, well, this is me, and this is what I have to do. Under restaurants, for instance, they're telling you, I'm going to it, right? Since restaurants is the topic. Patios and dining facilities must meet the following requirements in order to be considered outdoor. The patio or facility has a roof. It cannot have more than one enclosing wall. The facility, I can't read it. The facility or patio can have more than one enclosing wall if it doesn't have a roof. Umbrellas and pergolas are not considered to be roofs. Fences and half walls are not considered as walls. Patio seating must be limited to a maximum of 6 people per table. Individuals must be from the same household or the 2 close contacts for a person living alone. Because when you went back to what happened in your house, they have specific restrictions when you will only be able to be in contact with your person from your household. Or if you're single, you could have 2 people you could be in contact with. Now, I want to talk about that a little bit, right? Because I like how they put 2, because in case you have a sighting. But anyhow, they break down every single one of these things and the different types of businesses and different types of restrictions. And you know what they also did? They put something called the path forward. And then they say early steps are restriction or changes to outdoor gatherings, funerals, and personal services could come into effect. They say step 1 is a benchmark to ease restrictions if we have 600 hospitalizations and declining cases. So the men basically say, here what's going on. Restrictions go ease up to step 1 if any case, all the cases we have, so they identify the hospitals and the healthcare facilities in the Alberta area, and they say once we under 600, we easing back. So I don't have to wait on Rowlers what he wearing, and if he in a shirt, and if it's flowers, and if he by a beach, or if he do it on Zoom. I don't have to wait on them things. Like if it's a child waiting on somebody to tell me if I could go outside and play. I could watch the cases myself on a day-to-day basis and say, well, all right, hey, wait now. The hospitalization's going down because they're providing this as a daily update, just like how we see in our daily updates. And when I see the hospitalization going down now, we on the back of the curve. I say, right. So when the hospitalization rate starts to go down to all 750, 625, when I check in the daily news or the daily reports, and I realize that, hey, this thing looking good. All I had to do now is go as a restaurant owner and say, well, hey, wait now. This means I could go back to patio dining and I could do some indoor dining. So maybe I could buy some stock today and get myself ready because we're looking like we're looking good. And then when we reach 600 now, our alert come on everybody phone saying, hey, we're on step 1 of easing restrictions. Good to gizzle. Get your patio ready, have your indoor dining. But no, we can't do that. A year in it, because the last year was a different conversation. Nobody know what's going on. I don't know what restrictions mean. You could depend on a daily press conference and put blind faith in whoever in charge to say what we could and can't do. But a year in, nobody in sit down and work out nothing with thresholds yet. We have to wait until we 10 days away from max hospitalization or max capacity in the hospital to panic everybody and my heart rate going a kind of way. This is step 2. Once we reach 450 hospitalizations and declining cases, Step 2. All I have to go now is click on step 2 and go to the restaurant or whatever type of business I am, and I say, what can I do during step 2? Oh, step 2 mean I could go 50% capacity. So all right, here was the scene. Let me order some more goods now because now I could serve more people. Let me send out promotions to the people on my Instagram page or my mailing list or the people in my community and my area. Why not? And then the reverse is also the case. If I know when we starting to hit 400 beds, boy, lockdown's coming. I could start to ease back one time in terms of my restrictions in my. I don't have to wait for them to tell me move from 50 to 25%. I at risk too for my own health. If I own Vanilla Bean and I run in at 50% and I start to see, boy, wait now, cases is 300, 350, 375. Boy, we starting to approach 400, you know. Let me move back, let me scale back, and let me don't order so much of goods. Let me don't order so much of inputs, raw material. It's an econ class. Let me don't order so much puff and pastry and cake and all them things. Got back on the coffee, use what we have, because we heading towards a restriction. When the hospitalization reach 450, now bam, everybody get alert on their phone. Hey, we reach 450. So here what's going on. We are officially, we no longer at step 3 in terms of easing, we're going back to step 2. So all I had to do now is click step 2 and say, all right, well, as a man is do barbering and thing. All right, step 2, this means I could only do mohawks and all these things. So the thing clear. It's telling everybody exactly what they need to do. And I don't need to sit down now in a week of anxiety, thinking about the wrong darky to figure out why I could do and why I can't do where business concerned. We are here in. The doctors doing a great job. They have I don't know where them putting all them PowerPoints. Them men do 365 PowerPoints and all. You check that? All of them are about 10 slides. Them men are real PowerPoint. They must have the biggest database to store them things. All that could be coming to me on my phone or on Twitter or anywhere where I don't have to sit down and wait now. And listen, all of us gather around and watch the press conference. And while the press conference going on, I had to deal with a WhatsApp group with a set of comments. So I had to deal with Ian Allen commenting on the live stream. Listen, we had to advance past this, boy. Imagine, I'm not comparing like the whole of Canada, you know. Them, I just talking about Alberta and them men have. So I'm sure that the other parts or provinces, I hope Alberta is a province, but the other provinces might have the different way of dealing with it and their own unique things because they might be not as concentrated or urban living as Alberta, or every province have their own level of governance and they could deal with it to suit. I mean, we kind of small. They are 4 point something million people and they're using these restrictions as a citizen now. So I'm talking to my boy Edmund and he telling me, well, them is just watch it. So when they see where the cases going on, where the hospitalization going, they know all right, things going down. So soon we will be able to go back and eat by our favorite restaurants and this and that. And they have parts of it where they say, all right, during step, if we're going all the way to step, if we at step 1 or we have the highest level of restrictions. People doing, the restaurants allowed to do delivery or curbside pickup, and people doing meal prep things. So your favorite restaurant could still send home the exact same meal for you with all the instructions so you could cook it and do it yourself. So it is possible, and we have places in the world that actually taking into consideration the healthcare and the preventative measures and also thinking about the economy and the businesses at the same time. They think possible and it's very doable. You know what I mean? And the comparison with Canada, it's deliberate. Because a lot of people, let me talk about the opposition, I know I got to talk about Rowley alone. I had to get back to these folks, these fine folks in the opposition who rushed to put out a press conference today. Not a press conference, not a statement from Kamala Persad-Bissessar. I think they were so disappointed that Dr. Rowley say he put in $50 million in place to help people in the affected sectors. Like they didn't expect that, boy. So they went out and put out a statement already saying that he ain't doing nothing and he don't care about poor people and the normal rhetoric now. Like they didn't listen to the whole thing. But that same UNC and I lump in everybody as UNC. Ian Allen, Kamala Persad-Bissessar, Fuad Khan, all of them. It's the same rhetoric you're hearing from them all the time. Because any chance they get, and a Brian Hero man, by the way, any chance they get, They like to tell you what the US do and what Trump do, and look at Texas and look at Florida. Dread, that comparison to the US is such a joke to me. The US could stay however open they want and take whatever chances they want with the health of their people, because they don't have a public healthcare system where people dependent on the government. It's a free market economy. I tell you, it's an econ class. It's a free market economy. It's not no mixed economy like we, where people dependent on the government for merit goods like healthcare. The US is a market where people is paid to go to the hospital. You remember Obamacare and how that was a big issue because people don't find the government should get involved in how you get healthcare. If you can't afford health insurance, you're lazy and you're a bum and you need to go and get a job and work harder. So the US could stay, or the different states in the US could make decisions about how they stay open, because it is widely accepted by government and society that they will pay for their own healthcare whenever it arises. And them themselves put things in place to help with COVID too. But the comparison unfair. If a big bunch of people get COVID here, our public healthcare system, which is paid for by us as taxpayers, that public healthcare system, when it becomes overwhelmed, we have a major problem. In the States, demand and supply go and take care of that. But here, we are the ones, us personally, taxpayers, who are going to bear the burden if we really have one of them situations. I deliberately didn't talk about India last week, because it's so depressing to watch. I remember watching it in Italy. I remember seeing it in New York. And you see it in Italy now, in India now. It's somebody, boy, listen. I hope to God, I pray that we don't get nothing like that here. We ain't no India, we ain't even no Alberta. We have 1 million people begging to say 1.2 and 1.3. But if we get to that state, everybody will know somebody, all are we too connected and we too close to one another to not know exactly, to not know plenty people who are affected by that. You can imagine, boy, listen, I don't even want to talk about it. But I see in some scenes outside a hospital in India, and I want, boy, listen, if we see scenes like that outside a hospital in Vancouver, everybody will feel sick, And I'd planned to come and take out some clips, but I don't even have the energy to do it. I ain't had the zeal to go behind that and listen to all that. Because when you listen to Fuad Khan and Ian Allen, at least Fuad Khan a little more consistent in his just open up on who dead and who live. But I remember Ian Allen saying COVID is a joke. I remember him telling people don't take no vaccine because people who get any vaccine dying. I hear him yesterday say, boy, you're making a joke with the vaccine. We need vaccines. That's the only hope we go have. I don't know, boy. These men, no shame in the game. But that's where we are. So I'm using the Alberta as an example of how we could find the balance between the two. And I'd rather sit down like a fool waiting every week to hear Rowley say, don't do this, and bars are closed and restaurants are closed. And today he say, food places are closed. All food. He forget you working for we are. Somebody needs to remind Rollers that them fellas working for we, A matter of fact, we need to remind ourselves that these fellas working for us, these fellas public servants. Why they coming to talk to we so like if it's fools they're talking to? Anyway, this is not a COVID podcast, but we just spent a whole hour talking about COVID. It's really me venting, because I'm depressed and we're going back into a lockdown and I hate it. I can't stand when restaurants close. And as a man, don't go nowhere. But I feel just knowing it closed like it has hurt my heart. I just can't take it. And I want to know, all you had to tell me, because Derek Chauvin get convicted. We, in a year of this lockdown thing now, Black lives still matter. What is the scene with Starlight? I could go back, or we what we doing? We holding the line? It's nowhere to get food in all. It's nowhere to get no food. And I can't remember, but little bit I remember Starlight had the best food. What we doing? I need a consensus. I need one voice on this. We holding the line, or we done with that? Chauvin going down, he lock up, A big part of the thing where we stay away from Starlight from was because of the BLM thing. I want a consensus. Somebody help me. And that's on the topic too. How come Rolly don't wear a mask? Everybody else had a mask and anything. Anyway, enough of COVID. We done. There's a whole hour worth of COVID. I want to talk about more important matters. Like the fact that Bill Gates and Melinda Gates just announced that they're divorcing. You shouldn't laugh at that, right? All right, so let me say that differently. Sadly, the news of Bill Gates and Melinda Gates being divorced is, it's so sad. After 27 years of marriage, they realize that they're not going to be able to make it together. Let me find the man exact words, because that, to say it was a surprise is a joke, is an understatement to me. So Bill Gates, I don't know, I'm not supposed to be laughing, sorry. After a great deal of thought and work, and a lot of work, sorry, you're reading. After a great deal of thought and a lot of work on our relationship, we have made the decision to end our marriage. Over the last 27 years, we have raised 3 incredible children and built a foundation that works all over the world to enable all people to lead healthy, productive lives. We continue to share belief in that mission and will continue to our work together at the foundation, but we no longer believe we can grow together as a couple in this next phase of our lives. We ask for space and privacy for our family as we begin to navigate this new life. So we're sorry to hear that, Bill Gates. 27 years, anybody married, that is not a nice thing. I think all the children is adults now, the youngest child in the 20s already, so it's not like you're dealing with children with their misuse and big man and woman, they must don't know their parents not together already. So, the conspiracy theorists, like Fali, they line up to say now is because Bill Gates invent COVID and he invent the cure and thing, and Melinda, like she couldn't only line, so you know what I mean? She divorcing them. But what the stranger thing in all this is man and woman business. Because I think Bill Gates worth $100 and something billion. And just recently, remember Bezos went through the same thing with his wife. Like Bezos was sending little nudes. Imagine you're a billionaire. You're not a billionaire, you're the richest man in the world. And you sending your neighbor nudes and your neighbor sending back nudes. And I mean, yeah, for poor people. But Bill Gates and his wife done. They didn't say it's anything like that. They say the two of them can't get along anymore. But it just shows you how hard it is to deal with women in this world. That is the whole moral of the story, You see, dealing with women on this planet, it's not right here. Because when I listen back, both of them do a lot of work on their foundation. So that is commendable. And of course, all the work with Microsoft documented. She used to be marketing manager at Microsoft or marketing director or something like that. And both of them eventually fall for each other and had a long marriage and all that. But somewhere along the line, she picked up a cause. Let's call it that, right? And the cause was gender equality. And with her striving for gender equality, I want you to listen to a little clip here and understand that, like a lot of men, let me talk to fellas. Like we have this impression where, if you're doing good enough, you work hard enough, you hit the jackpot, you get very, very successful. Life go get easier. Let me tell you something, it ain't going to get easier. At least not the part of your life for dealing with women, no? I listened to that clip, I couldn't believe what it is I hear. Hear what two of them talking about where she dealing with this gender equality thing. Wait, hold on, Bill. The man name is Bill, short for billionaire, multi-billionaire. And he talking about getting assigned the dishes as night. I thought this was poor people problem. This is a regular discussion in my house. Because I don't wash enough wares, and then when I wash the wares, I don't wash them clean, and I don't see if I think, and I don't wipe down the sink. I thought these was poor people. In my mind, right? When I reach billionaire, I not dealing with these kind of things. Listen, I not washing a ware. I'm not washing a single ware ever in life again. And I had to reach quite Bill Gates level to do that. No, I just shot a couple salary increase and 2 more contract, and I done with wash wares. Why is Bill Gates being assigned wares washing duty? Basically, the woman, you have no way to please no woman. They tell you if you think that you have no ambition, you're successful now, you're making money. You have nobody making more money than you. A matter of fact, one man making more money than you, and he now divorced. He's sending nudes. You behaving yourself. solving world viruses, creating and destroying pandemics. But you see, this is why you should not come here. You know. As you see Bill Gates on a yacht down here, it's divorce time. But let me listen to the rest of it, you know, because it's ain't done with the way as washing now. There's no way on earth to please certain genders. Here not this is woman. Listen, fellas, why does we like more woman? Well, forget it. I cannot. Why? I don't understand. The man is the CEO of Microsoft, probably the single most important company in the world at the time she's talking about. He decided he's gonna drop the children to school 2 days a week. That is a nice little vibe. You see, dropping your children to school is a nice thing to do. Now it's frustrating the hell out of me, so I hope they would never open back school. Let them stay. I go drop him in the room to do the online school now. Basically, going through that traffic to drop a child to school, that ain't right here. But it's a nice little bonding time and thing. And the man say taking time from CEO of Microsoft to come. And the best she could find to say. So that's not enough between what going on between both all you. The CEO of Microsoft, you the marketing manager, you're home. She said she was home. So he taking 2 days carrying the children to school, sweet. You had to talk about now he making the other husband look bad. And you know what the other husband and them are going on, Melinda? What is wrong with people? So I don't know if to assume she ain't getting enough equality. So she decided they're going their separate ways. Or I mean, to be honest, two of them looking boring too. If you being honest, two of them boring. It's no kind of spice. It's no kind of spice. You could watch when you watch Steve Jobs back in the day. You could see Steve Jobs have a little pep in him. Well, Bill Gates boring like Helen Melinda, you're boring too. So she needs to go and find a boring man. And he needs to find a whole next boring girl, and it's just a whole the divorce and all boring. They ain't even it's no juicy details, ain't nothing going on about that. But gender equality. See how it's go? But we have our own little divorce locally here to deal with too, because the head of sort, Mark and Atwell, who used to be the head of sort. You see, after that statement Mark made the where he say a whole bunch of nothing and incriminate himself even more the other day. He is officially suspended as the head of sort, and now we have Roger Alexander, beyond the tape Roger Alexander, as the new head of sort. Now, boy, I'm not sure how I feel about this, because a part of me want to say this man was on charges, and he had his charges coincidentally was assault and sort, now under disrepute as a whole body because of two people ending up dead in their custody and stuff. So putting a policeman there who was in charge of assault of a citizen, who was charged with assault for a citizen before, it's sung a little iffy. But one thing I could say about Alexander, the man passionate about policing, and I judging all this from his media and Instagram and social media presence and stuff. He seemed to be very passionate about policing as a whole, and about keeping us safe, Trinidad and Tobago, from the standpoint of crime and them kind of things. And the man, boy, he like himself a lot. Like what we end up with is like the Holy Trinity. The Holy Trinity of men who like themselves is now responsible for our national security. We have Gary Augustus Mervyn Griffith, Fitzgerald May Hines, and Roger Prasad Alexander. These are the people who in charge of national security in the country now. So this either going to go real good, or it's going to be real bacchanal and it's going to go way left. I don't know how to call it. We had to flip a coin on this one. I ain't sure how you feel about it, but imagine them three egos in the same room fighting for TV time and FaceTime, boy. This is going to be interesting to say the least. But congratulations to Roger Alexander. I'm not sure if this means that he off the Beyond the Tape show, or he's still going to be doing that. I don't know if he wants to give up that space. And I think, in fairness to him, he's doing a decent job. That show is a good idea on a whole, to give the public some insight into the way the police see things, and also a forum where the police could respond to questions from the public and deal with issues even when things not going great. Because I remember him, if you remember when there was this killing in Mova and a big retaliation and people came in town and all that, he was on the scene in Mova there just after it happened, but it was good to hear him come on the TV and talk about the issue as well. Even though whether you like what you say or you don't like what you say, before they had a show like Beyond the Tape, we really didn't have an opportunity to hear from the police like that. And in this day and age of not just media, but social media, I think those things are important. I mean, your boy Trump set the tone, though. That man was very much a social media leader. So seeing how our own local leaders adjust to this social media era is interesting. But he's been a part of it and he on it. And he have a funny way is I'm trying to say he know how to communicate with people in an odd kind of way. So congratulations to him, and let's hope Beyond the Tape continue and we get more info out of it. But most of all, to make sure that we take policing seriously and don't make lighter issues where, especially in serious cases like what we just seen with Andrea Barrett, suspects showing up dead, and I mean I don't know if it's over exuberance in policing or but even when Hernandez was talking about it, song like, they was vexed too. They just like the rest of the society, they upset. But we want to see people brought to justice, man. We want to see police always in a good light. The good citizens want to work with police and make the thing happen. So salute to Alexander, salute to the holy trinity of local national security. Now in more divorce news, I see a little tweet went out this week about CPL, and I started to say, well, all right, you know what I mean? I'm looking for, as soon as they started to lock things down, I try to find things to do to keep my own sanity. And I see CPL back on the scene, and I tell myself it was sooner, but it's quite August the men talking about. I find CPL could have been now, yes? All the time like this, they could have played CPL twice a year and give you something to watch. But I suppose the IPL people, and I never really get into IPL. I find it's too much of a game, man. It lasts too long. I don't know who is who and who playing for who neither, but maybe I should get into that. But CPL is back. But divorce is in the air again, like it's a Bill and Melinda thing, because I see that they're saying Bravo is no longer with TKR and now he going and play with St. Kitts. And St. Kitts is a real hard luck franchise. St. Kitts had, I believe, they had Chris Gale at one point in time. They didn't really say nothing. I think 1 year. Did they get Sammy 1 year? They had somebody else, a big player they had get on their side at one point too. Like this side, as a matter of fact, this year, during the lockdown last year. That was pretty sweet. During the last CPL, it was looking like a bomb squad. I remember talking about them and saying, they will be hard to beat. If I'm not mistaken, Evan Lewis and them was on the side too. But they never really say nothing. So Bravo gone over. And he basically put a statement saying, it's a new era, a different part of his career, and his focus now is on youth development and things. And salute to that. That's really, really good that he could make that move. I always felt that Trinidad side was kind of top heavy in the competition, man. When he and Pollard there, not just as good players there, but real strong captains, you know what I mean? They split up the thing, man, and make the games more competitive and give me more side that we could back. According to Stacey, that may be back in St. Kitts too, so we're rolling with that. Ramden is coming back to TKR. He had gone over there for some time, so nice to see Ramden back too, man. Who was wicketkeeper? No, we had a foreign wicketkeeper last time. McCullum? Can't remember. But yeah, so CPL is back in the air, and I even see in sports too, we getting Olympic ready. They're going to be our Olympic Games this summer. I just be glad for things to do, yes, and things to watch on TV. I reach the point now where distractions is what I'm looking for. I need some distractions from the reality of the thing, so it would be nice to have our Olympic Games. I don't know what that will look like. Imagine training for years to get to Olympics. Think about it. If you was looking at Olympics and things, that means since you're small, you're doing them gymnastics as a little baby coming up. Only to reach 2021, or 2020 first, and it postponed, and then 2021, and you have a Olympic with no crowd. Oh, man. But again, hopefully, like real people vaccinated by that time, and we're going to have like something normal, But imagine 100 meters with no crowd now, boy. Oh, God, we look like Carifta games. That would be sad, I wonder what's the energy. I always think about football and those sports, but I really didn't put much thought into the Olympics and what the energy would be like for athletes who out there, And there are no kind of spectators or nothing. It's just you. That come just like training. It come, but hey, let them stay home and train. You could social distance 100 meters to know everybody around the 100 meters in whatever country is and just send in your time and send a gold medal to whoever do it the fastest. Boy, it will be sad. It will be sad. And I don't even know like much of our athletes here. Who we send in, what we doing, if we have a next cash on, who we back in. But whatever it is, we red, white, and black up in there. And we will make some noise when that time comes. If it's Tokyo, I suppose the times will be close to daytime for us. So distractions, we're looking for it. So I can't wait for Olympics to start. The Premier League get real boring. Man City going to win out the whole Premier League. It's painful and hard to watch any Prem game right now. I find Champions League looking boring, although Chelsea, they are go watch the finals. Sports just didn't have what it used to have when you do have nobody in the crowd cheering it on, and it's all quite depressing. It's not a whole lot happening in entertainment either, of course. I see some one of them territories having a carnival. I didn't want to talk about it. It's sad. They vaccinated and they using some of the carnival events to show people like, hey, you could fat and bubble and thing, you know what I mean? Once we heading towards post-COVID. And you seen little things popping up, you know. Miami had the little weekend in a bubble thing and them seem to be having parties. New York seemed to be open. And like when you look, I was talking about India a little earlier. When you look at how bad it was in New York at one point in time, to how open people are now liming and fetting and stuff, it gave you a glimmer of hope in all this, you know. That if we do the right thing and we take the lockdowns or we go through, once you pass the worst, it has some happy times to come. So it's a good example. But entertainment scene, I was looking forward to seeing I was following DJ Khaled launching a new album. Especially because he went to Jamaica, which he's usually doing. If you ever listen to DJ Khaled music, I don't even know how that work. Like, why is called his album? He don't sing nothing. I suppose he put together the songs and do producing and all that, but you don't sing nothing, but it's your album, and it's really a list of all the biggest stars in music at the time. But anyway, he went over to Jamaica and he had a lot of images coming out with Buju, Bounty Killer, Capleton, somebody else missing from there, Barrington Levy. And looking like he putting together a song with all of them. So it's like, that is vibes. And he's always make sure he have people on his album. Buju had a song on the last album. He have a Jamaican element in all of them. So I was looking forward to that. Even that was kind of like, boy, that album was nothing. I don't want to say nothing good, but that album real lame. And then we inside too. So it's not even like he could party and lime. And he have these kind of like club hits. So when nobody liming or nobody partying and thing, it sounds so boring. And just listening to them things, just that album. DJ Khaled could do much better than that. They said Nas and Jay-Z had a song together too, so I was looking forward to that song. I think it's Sorry Not Sorry. And even that, I mean, when Jay-Z and Nas get together, it's going to be good because they will be topical. Them in a different stage in their career too in terms of the type of lyrics, so it's very mature. Men talking business talk and billionaire talk and that kind of thing. But this song was real short. The song short, like it's just one verse from Jay-Z and one verse from Nas, and by the time you really listen to it, the song done. And then the Buju and I want the Buju song and thing good. It's the last song of the album. If you could check it out, check it out. It's decent. Why I like is how Bounty Killer come out in the album, man. Bounty Killer is my artist, and Bounty Killer is the greatest dancehall artist of all time. And they put together an album, the Buju singing the part. Capleton really take the song, eh? Capleton was hard. But they make Bounty Killer song lame, man. I ain't like Bounty Killer song on the album. He was done on a high. You do the verses. High in terms of the international audience. You do the verses, you come out on top. The next time the world hear you, you're singing like if you're off the beat, and it just ain't singing right at all, boy. And I mean, I see him also teasing a track with him and Bunji Garlin. I hope that come out good too, but even that, I'm feeling like number one is long overdue because Bunji, if you ever listen to Bunji, especially early in the days, you could hear how much of Bounty Killer he patterned himself after. Even in singing soca, after he was done with the hardcore dancehall days and he was doing more what they used to call raga soca at the time, you could hear how much his voice, his ad libs, everything was patterned after Bounty. Even his style and the kind of serious, kind of gangster looking way he used to come out and thing. You could see a lot of it come from Bounty. And boy, that's mostly what? That's 20 something years ago. And them men now really doing a collaboration. So let me play the clip for you that they have playing on Instagram. I hope by the time we get together again, this song come out and we can talk about it. That is it. That is all again as a clip. But just hearing two of them together, big for me. If you know how much I'm a Bounty Killer fan I am, I'm glad to hear it. Anytime Bounty Killer get involved in the soca, that is a good move to me. And Bunji Garlin could fit in on anything. I like the fact that they ain't try to do no hardcore beats. You could hear the beat gonna be a vibe. I can't, you know my gripe with Bunji is always the ever lyrical, never gimmickal. I find sometimes you just had to get a little song with some nice little lyrics where you could sing along to, and you not to spend. It's not like a whole like Fitzgerald says a mini thesis to learn the damn lyrics in the song. So I eager to hear that. Hopefully by the time we get back together, we have that. But while we wait on Bounty Killer, what we do have is Trinidad Killer, and I promise you, I can't play no clips from Trinidad Killer. I can't play none. Last time we talked about him with the whole sex video, he had a whole porno on YouTube. But I feel he going through a lot right now. Because if you don't know Trinidad Killer, there's a gunman in your whole man. He's the man sing the song. And I don't know what has happened with voice on them. Because now, with more lockdowns, we're going to be dependent again on Instagram Live for entertainment. You know, we was getting good. The IG Live entertainment was good last year, March, when it just locked down. We had major hype every week, doing at least two clashes every week. And a man named Wizology doing real good interviews on the song class scene in Jamaica. We used to have, who again used to go live all the time? You had a bunch of people you just following and you go live, Tony Mataran and Jabba and them. You used to get some good little live you could take in and entertain yourself. Scheduled live. I used to tell you about my guy Niall who used to have, not breakfast, supper club. And you know what I mean? The Instagram live was my vibe last time because you notice that most of the series that we following, where we're waiting on new seasons, a lot of them postponed because of COVID too. So we in a mess. Let me see who entertaining on IG Live this time. So Voice was one of them people because, as you know, he have the Thursday night show. But I don't know what was said by Voice or by Trinidad Killer and Travis Will and Hakeem and them. But somewhere in the mix, Voice say he not responding to no small artists. And like Trinidad Killer trip off. And I know what his Rachel Price say about him. I see a live with all of them laughing and talking. Rachel Price, Trinidad Killer. I think Tommy Schmurder would be on it too. Everybody laughing and having a good time. So me know what it is they say. And what was Rachel Price claiming that Trinidad Killer say something about her daughter. And I don't know what it is. But boy, if you like to see a good little train wreck and you like little action, go on Trinidad Killer Instagram page at any time you feel like. He will be live, cussing people out. Stink. The real McCoy. But it cuss like woman, maybe you know why. But listen, he having a whole next moment. This moment he having bigger than his. And you know, when we was talking about him last time in Soca Monarch, when he had sing Digest, they outright robbed that man in a way. And listen, like he didn't get over that yet, boy, because the man tripping off on everybody. And you know, he right to tripping off because that wasn't right what they do that man. That Digest was one of the nicest songs for the carnival. And look, that come to be, he end up coming after the carnival when it had no crowd and thing, and they come and invite you to sing and thing. They really mama guy and the fellow, you know. And I don't know if people will remember like how long he been trying to get into soca and thing. Back in the day when Umi Makano, remember when Umi Makano, when Peter C. Lewis had Synergy Soca Star. Remember that show? The first man to win that was a man named Fireball. Remember him? You know, the song I have in my mind is Busy Signal. He used to sing a kind of opera thing. Ha, 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 ha. Remember that? What happened to Fireball? He done all that? I never Fireball in a long time. But Fireball had come out and win, and that show was a nice little show, youth talent and real competitive and everything. The year after Fireball had win, it had to be the year after or soon after. Umi Makano had come and win with Move That Body and in my heart you can know that body, move that. Remember that song? Trinidad Killer was in that group with Umi and them, and that group, that crop of artists was competing there. Was Umi Makano, Kimber Sazano had come second, and Trinidad Killer, if I'm not mistaken, had come third or fourth. He was good. He had a good song. I mean, they couldn't beat Umi that year. The song was too good, and Umi was too good a performer, and people that just love Umi. And then Kimber Sazano he's still real good, you know what I mean, as an artist too. And he had I can't remember Kimber's song, but it was good. But Trinidad Killer had a kind of cat song. It was about cat. You know what I mean? So I don't know if that might keep him back. But the song wasn't as good as Umi's song or anything either. And his name wasn't Trinidad Killer at that time either. But that's how long ago that had to be? That must be in 2006 or 2007. That's how long that man knocking on the door and trying to get through and thing. So I'm not sure what keeping him back and thing, and to be honest with you, I'm not sure if his current Instagram presence is going to help push him forward. It will probably keep him back even more. But the man fighting up. And I was glad to see Doggy Slaughter was another one of them people who I watched often last year during the quarantine, because he was doing a lot of interviews. And in one of his interviews, he was interviewing Iowa. I was glad to see Trinidad Killer post this clip too. Because there's something my mother always told me about, and I never really hear anybody else talk about it. And he was basically, Slaughter was interviewing Iowa. And Iowa was talking about Trinidad Killer and about getting fight down and those types of things, and wanting to give up on the industry and that kind of thing then, because you're not getting the right treatment and all that. And Iowa was telling Slaughter, well, Mighty Sparrow went through that same thing in Trinidad too, where people was basically, I mean, when you look at how much of an icon he is, you don't think about that. You don't study that he was getting fight or any other kind of thing at all. But he was saying that Sparrow spent plenty years out of Trinidad. He didn't stay here. And a big part of the reason was because of that fight down thing. And he went on a stage in the Savannah. My mother's always telling me that why she can't support, but she ain't like Sparrow up to today because of that. But he went on the Savannah stage, if I'm not mistaken, or some big stage in Carnival. And he pulled long his pants and turned around and showed the crowd the bottom and said, "Kiss my black Grenadian bottom," or something like that. And you know what I mean? It sounds so much like a tame version of Trinidad Killer language in this day and age. But that fight down thing in our local music seemed to be just forever. Like I remember having my father in this podcast and talking about Ricky Jai getting a fight in Spectacular 10 because he's an Indian singing soca. He gained a fight from his own community because they say, you take we music and put it in Calypso. And then he gained a fight from the Calypso community now singing, you're singing Bajan, you shouldn't come in this and this is not that. So it looks like it's a circular thing. And I remember Daddy too telling me about Iowa himself. So he talking about Sparrow getting fight down, right? But he telling me about his time in Kitchener Tent and Iowa singing Boom Boom Time. And when they are clash of tents or the two tents come together, when Iowa go on by Sparrow Hideaway to sing Boom Boom Time, is my father telling me Sparrow is cussing backstage and saying, Iowa can't sing no Boom Boom Time here. You know what I mean? I think he was saying that Sparrow might have had Do Back that year. And Iowa Boom Boom Time competing with Do Back. And he's like, nah, Iowa ain't singing no Boom Boom Time. There's a Boom Boom Time in his side there. It's Sparrow Hideaway. This ain't Iowa Hideaway. When you look at it, the kind of fight artists get, so I'm watching it all the time, and again, I take him little kicks and little entertainment. But recently here, it started to look a little more like a mental, you know what I mean? Like he having a issue. So I'm hoping he hold his head and be good, because that ain't no easy thing to be going through, especially when he's one of the artists I was talking about where COVID would really affect them. Because when you gunman in the hole, you reach a length with that. Thanks to the guy Philip Alexander who push you through the gate, right? Move you from underground to above ground. Let me put it like that. And then it started to get international. He himself has put clips out there with Drake singing Gunman in Your Hole, and Russian, who would be one of the biggest producers in dancehall and reggaeton and thing, singing Gunman in Your Hole. There's a clip with Russian like vibing to the song, and you could hear him singing like, who the hell sing this song? Like if the man genuinely liked the song. So you get that kind of forward, and then you come in with the Digest, which was one of the nicest songs in the whole carnival. He would have been probably on tour. And by now, he hopefully he followed with a nice song for 2021 too, and he'd be touring all over the world, performing, getting money. And boy, everything come and shut down when you start to catch a length. And you could find yourself in a situation in soca music particularly where you're starting back from scratch. When this is all said and done, everybody don't forget you and Digest and your moment pass, and now you had to start back from scratch trying to fight through. So I hope the youth man, holy head man. I know you say the youth man, he might be my age, but holy head, holy head, holy head. Don't fight up too much, and don't kill out yourself. Keep doing your lives and think you're entertaining. Yeah, your little show. You and Tommy Schmurder. Keep doing that, and we will keep supporting that. And another artist, just before we start to wrap up, another artist who you could see he had a lot of issues, or has a lot of issues with how he was treated in the industry, and end up living abroad the same way, is David Rudder. You hear him talking about it a lot. He not happy with the way he treated in local music. Let me put it in that without talking on his behalf. But there's a podcast or a YouTube show, matter of fact, it's on Tego, called The Kitchen Table. And them fellas do a good job breaking down. It's all about the culture. They tend to keep it cultural. And they have an interview now with David Rudder. I do find that we need more of that, like long form interviews with local artists, especially the veterans, where they could talk about their experiences, talk about the way they see in the youths. Now just talk, and talk for a little while. Not the radio thing where you're getting 5 minutes from them just to promote whatever they're promoting, but to get to know a little bit more of them. And I think those fellas on the Kitchen Table, the Instagram page is The Kitchen Table Official, and is with Jean Paul Comedy and Hans. I think it's Hans Diffenthaler. Hans DF. The middle call no. I'm pretty sure it's Diffenthaler, but it's HANSDIEFF. But both of them have a lot of knowledge about the music itself too. So it's nice to see them have an interview and really hear him talk about his own history, how he got into the music. And them men had gems, boy. Them men had gems. They have stories. They could do that. He could do that sort of conversation every week and not run out of things to talk about for a whole year. So salute to those guys on the Kitchen Table, and check out that when you have some time. It's on Tego, but you could find them on Instagram on the Kitchen Table official page. And my other favorite show, I'll never stop talking about it, is Yellow Cow TV with Nadia Batson. They had Patrice Roberts on this week, and she's another person who, funny enough, when you look at our local artists, right, you sometimes you realize you don't know a whole lot about them personally. You ever realize that? Like, okay, when you watch I watch a lot of interviews, but when you watch interviews with international artists in any genre, you start to learn a lot about their background, like how they get in the industry, who bring them in, where they're from, how they rep their area, things like that. And you just find like you get little snippets of that from all local artists, but you don't know a whole lot. And I find Patrice Roberts to be one of them people. Patrice Roberts is on superstar level, multiple hits every year, pulling her own crowd, and she have her own draw and that kind of thing in soca, which I find to be hard to do. But it's not like you know a lot about her personally. They do the thing with Drew and all that, and but the recent song is what I'm talking about with Drew, with the Toxic Love, I think it was. And we know about the issue with her and Ricardo Drew. But even that, like, you hear more about that on Blaze and them show on a morning and rumors than you hear from them. But it was nice to see her do an interview. Now, Nadia Batson on Yellow Cow TV, as she usually says, is really just them talking. But I wish that they would make it a little bit more of an interview. You know me, I like long... Pause. That didn't sound good at all. But I mean, I talked by myself here for an hour and a half. So when Yellow Cow TV is so short, it's like 30 minutes, 40 minutes, it's done. With somebody like Patrice Roberts there, it's like, especially with two artists. You know, Drink Champs with Noriega is what I find Nadia and they could do a lot of. Because Noriega was an artist, if you remember him rapping. And he had like, remember DMX, rest in peace. His episode with DMX, they talk about stories with both of them going in different things, recording here and there, working with Def Jam. And I just find like the Yellow Cow TV is an opportunity for her to do that, for artists to come together. So I was glad when there was one show she had Farmer on where they talk a little bit about getting booked for a show and why women getting paid less. I kind of like that. So it would be nice for her to do more of that on the show between her and Miss Alicia and Lana. But also to like to keep in mind that she knows the artist real good. But we want to know the artist. We don't know nothing. So it would be nice to hear her ask them about where they come from, what they think, how they get into soca. You're singing soca all the time. We used to rap and do rap soul, dance soul. We used to do before. And I'm saying that to say the show is an excellent show. So I expect that it will continue to grow and different types of artists will go on. And by the time Fayan and Bungie and Marshall and them go on, I'm hoping that we get more of that. And I feel like we're missing some of that when we have somebody like Patrice there. But let me tell you the one thing I learned about Patrice on that show. When Patrice was about to laugh, you had to laugh. She looks so serious. If you ever see her in person, she's be looking beast mode. She's be looking serious. She used to go in the gym in Long Circular back in the day. She'd be looking beast. But she, boy, you know, when she laugh, boy, you had to laugh. Yes, you can't stop laughing. So taking Yellow Cow TV as well. That show is always good, and Patrice was real good on it. Before we go, let me end off right which part we start. I have a song to play. And I'm playing this song, to be honest, I'm playing this song as much for myself as for everybody else. Because this song's so relevant. This song is no come song. This song been around. But it's such a relevant song. Hey. Slow down. It's such a relevant song. And it boils down to us in the same black and white thing that I'm talking about in Trinidad. Where we don't want no lockdowns, but we don't want no corona. We want the government to do something about it, but we want to jump up any chance we get to say how poor they're doing, and the this and the that, and Rolly, you know what he's doing, and this. Listen, so this song going out to people like Fuad Khan and them in particular, but it's also going out to myself, who is being critical and saying some of these same things. And I listened to this song a good bit this week. And it's so relevant. Then this song is particularly for people who every chance they get, they like to talk about how bad Trinidad is. I can't take it. Any chance they get, they like to talk. They want to compare Trinidad to every place they've been everywhere in the world that's so great. And every time they talk about Trinis now, they say Trinis again. In Trinidad, listen, I can't stand that talk. So I'm leaving all you with this song of a fellow by the name of the Maestro. And this the opening little riff in this song, it was song familiar to you. Tell me if you know what song it's from.
Mr. Trinidad, tell me what scene you on. Do you just like political confusion? You criticizing the way you live, yet you can't produce an alternative. You say you against the power structure. You ain't like the opposition either. But take care, you jump out the hot water and end up in the center of the fire. Because you refuse to vote in election, but then you want revolution. You're strongly against communism. You walk out on colonialism. You say Rick William had to go, but who to replace him? You ain't know. So to make a long story short from in front, Trinidadians, they really know what they want. My friend, if you don't want democracy, the opposite is guerrilla activity. If you don't want democratic improvement, you have to want a revolutionist government. And yet when Guy Harewood went in the hills with Jennifer Jones, you let them get killed. All you're doing is grinning and skylarking. You come like the ass in the lion's skin, because you say Robinson is a traitor. You say what's than that about Granger. You say Kamal seeking his own interest. You call Millet a Marxist Leninist. You are ODAC, neither DLP, and you say PNM is only ratchet. Well, you tying up yourself. I gonna tell you why. Trinidadians just like plenty mama guy. Afro-Trinidadian talking black power. It's not wrong for a man to love his culture. Yes, you walk around with your Afro plait and you're dragging alpagat and fatsapat. But although they're rapping about Africa, you're eating roti like if you're born in India. So who you gonna blame when you make your book and end up like a cat on a hunting room? Because you say you're going Afro all the way, yet you smile when they bring in Tony May. William say he want to retire. You beg him to stay a little longer. You reject Carl's act on public order. Now you want the same Carl for Prime Minister. Like your sense of reasoning goes and comes. It won't surprise me if you call back Albert Gums. You say that you didn't want no dictator, yet you want one fella to reign forever. About Ed Malik, you say he guilty. Parmasadi the same, yet you set him free. Long ago you didn't want Fidel Castro, but now you say the same Castro is a hero. Well, this attitude, like Humpty Dumpty, you might fall off the wall eventually. Because you say Butler was too high-handed, Stephen Maraj uneducated. You say that we can't trust Jamada. You find Sukaran too concosa. You say the accent is on the young man, yet you run and call back Ashford Sinanan. But you won't call back until you call disaster, like the colonial days of the slave master. Indian, Trinidadian, naive as ever. That is why they formed the Mahasabha. They're conservative, only talking race. Yet you see so much Dogla all around the place. They say they just need pork for them. How come them and black pudding is such good friend? You're making your own self a papi show. You might end up just like Rumpelstiltskin. You call Pat Solomon a bashon, yet he's spending your money in London. You say the country's ace-crime fighter is a regular ganja smoker. You call your picture a seditious surprise me if you move Malik from that room and make him minister home affairs tomorrow. Rasta Trinidadian, walking, talking peace. Yes, he always in trouble with the police. Saying peace and love, right on, brother man. Yet if you watch him hard, he want to break your hand. They say they doesn't eat pork, but then how come them and black pudding is such good friend? They're making their own self a papi show. You might end up just like Rumpelstiltskin. Theodore Guerra prosecute soldiers, but that he get one set of horrors. And then when Maurice gone down Walker, they run and they call the same Guerra. You say Mahathir too quiet and soft, and Victor Campbell is a big show. You ain't war Eric Kamal call neither part. If it's a badge on you want, well call Dr. My friend, if you don't want democracy, the opposite is guerrilla activity. If you don't want democratic improvement, you have to want a revolutionist government. And yet when Guy Harewood went in the hills with Jennifer Jones, you let them get killed. All you doing is grinning and skylarking. You come like the ass in the lion's skin. Because you call Robinson a traitor. You say, what's that about Granger? You say, Kamal seeking your own interest. You call me letter Marxist, Leninist. You are what DSP, neither DLP. Yet you say PNM is only Rachipi. Well, if you're bringing back dead horses on the line, well, it's all right if you bring back Larry Constantine.
No, they tell me I'm playing song for too long, but it has some songs you can't stop and you don't stop. And that is one of them. So this song just remind me of myself. Let me don't talk about nobody else. I'm talking about myself. But then it's a great song, one of the greatest written songs. So I wonder if I remember which song or which artist used that as a sample in the beginning of one of the big hits recently. Tell me if you remember, right? But until then, I will talk to you guys next week. Have a good week. Everybody stay safe and let you get the numbers down and get back to some normalcy next week.